family secrets, broken trust, and a leaked tape that nobody saw coming. Camron just dropped a shocking revelation that's shaking the entire hip-hop world, and Chrissy Lampkin's reaction. Explosive doesn't even begin to cover it. What went down behind closed doors has finally spilled into the public. And this so-called final tape might be the last straw in a drama that's been building for years. Buckle up, because this one is messy. The hip-hop world is spinning out of control right now, because a leaked final tape has surfaced. And it's dragging one of reality TV's most infamous love stories straight back into the spotlight. For years, the saga of Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin has been filled with highs, lows, drama, and tension. But now Camron, Jim's longtime friend, collaborator, and one-time brother-in-arms, has made a shocking revelation that's left Chrissy furious beyond belief. And according to those close to the situation, her explosive reaction is only the beginning of what could become one of the most dramatic fallouts we've seen yet. To understand why this tape is such a bombshell, you need to remember the complicated history between these three names: Jim Jones, Chrissy Lampkin, and Camron. Jim and Chrissy's relationship has been at the center of reality TV for over a decade, starting with their appearances on Love and Hip Hop New York, their ups and downs, their fights and reconciliations, and Chrissy's unforgettable proposal too. Jim, in front of the cameras, have all become part of hip-hop culture's reality show history. Fans have watched them struggle with trust issues, marriage questions, and loyalty tests for years. And while some people see them as a couple that can survive anything, others think they've always been one scandal away from collapse. Enter Camron, Dipset's leader, Jim's close friend since childhood, and someone who has never been afraid to stir the pot. Cam and Jim's relationship has been rocky in recent years, with public spats, reconciliations, and more spats again. Camron is known for being brutally honest, unfiltered, and willing to expose uncomfortable truths if it benefits him or his narrative. So when word got out that Cam had been holding onto a tape, what he called a final tape, with some type of revelation about Jim and Chrissy, fans immediately braced themselves. Because if there's one thing Cam is good at, it's dropping bombs that leave people speechless. And now that tape has leaked. On it, Camron allegedly makes a revelation that Jim had been hiding something major about his relationship with Chrissy. While the exact contents are still being pieced together by fans and blogs, the consistent rumor is that Cam exposed intimate details about Chrissy's role in Jim's career and how their personal relationship might not be as strong as it appears on screen. Cam claims that Chrissy has been controlling much more than people realize, not just in Jim's personal life, but also in his business moves, financial decisions, and even friendships. In the tape, Cam allegedly says, "Jimmy ain't Jimmy no more. That man been living in Chrissy's world, not his own. Everything he do, everything he say, it's all through her. That's why Dipset fell apart. That's why the movement stopped. She wanted to be the boss, and Jimmy let her." Those words, if true, cut deep. Not only do they accuse Chrissy of being the real reason for cracks in Dipset's foundation, but they also paint Jim as weak, something no rapper ever wants to be labeled as in this culture. And for Chrissy, the suggestion that she's been pulling the strings behind the scenes is humiliating and infuriating. She's always portrayed herself as Jim's partner, not his puppet master. To hear Camron reducing her to the downfall of an entire movement was more than enough to send her into rage mode. According to insiders, Chrissy reacted explosively the moment she found out the tape had leaked. She reportedly went off on Jim, demanding answers about why Cam would have such footage in the first place. Sources say her anger wasn't just at Cam, but also at Jim for allowing his old friend to hold on to something so damaging. One source described the scene as nuclear, with Chrissy pacing, yelling, and threatening to confront Camron directly. But if you know Chrissy Lampkin, you know that her anger isn't quiet. She doesn't hold back, she doesn't sugarcoat, and she certainly doesn't hide her emotions. People close to her are saying she's preparing to set the record straight, and that could mean anything, from a public clapback to dragging Camron through the mud herself. The blogs are already having a field day. Memes, reaction videos, and endless threads are popping up online with fans split right down the middle. Some are siding with Cam, saying he's just telling the truth about Chrissy being too controlling and holding Jim back from his true potential. Others are siding with Chrissy, blasting Cam for being petty and jealous, for once again trying to tear down Jim's name just because of their old beef. The lines are drawn. Everyone's waiting to see who makes the next move. What makes this even more explosive is the fact that Camron has hinted this isn't the only tape he has. He's allegedly got more receipts, more footage, and more revelations that could completely destroy Chrissy and Jim's image as a couple. He called this one the final tape. But some fans believe that was just a marketing trick, a way to build suspense and keep everyone watching for the next leak. If that's true, then Chrissy's rage might only get worse as time goes on. Meanwhile, Jim Jones has been strangely quiet through all of this. While Chrissy is reportedly furious and ready to fight back, Jim has not made any official statements. Some fans see this as weakness, while others say he's just trying to keep the peace. But in the court of public opinion, silence doesn't look good. People are demanding to know whether Cam's words have truth behind them and whether Jim is finally going to stand up for Chrissy or let her fight this battle on her own. The entire situation has brought old wounds back to the surface. Cam and Jim's broken brotherhood, Chrissy's rocky public image, and Jim's career struggles are all colliding in one massive scandal. And with this tape now out in the open, there's no going back. The world has heard Cam's version of events. I think Chrissy's fiery reaction is making it clear that she's not going to let this slide. But here's the thing. This isn't just a leaked tape. This is a declaration of war. And Chrissy Lampkin isn't backing down. If you thought? Chrissy Lampkin's private meltdown over Camron's leaked tape was bad enough. Wait until you hear how she responded when the story began to explode across social media. Because Chrissy didn't just sit in silence and let Cam control the narrative. No, she came out swinging. And true to her fiery reputation, she made it clear that if Camron wanted smoke, she had no problem delivering it. The first signs of Chrissy's fury came through Instagram. Within hours of the tape going viral, she posted a cryptic story with a black background and just one line in bold white text. "Don't play with me." Fans instantly knew who it was aimed at. Then, just a few hours later, she doubled down with another post. "Clout chasing ain't cute. Keep my name out your mouth." Screenshots of the posts started trending on Twitter, with thousands of fans retweeting and tagging Camron, demanding to know if he would respond. But Chrissy wasn't done there. According to insiders, she's been telling people in her circle that she plans to expose Cam for who he really is. In private conversations that have since leaked to gossip blogs, Chrissy reportedly accused Camron of being jealous of her relationship with Jim for years. She believes Cam resents the influence she's had over Jim because it meant Jim was no longer following Cam's lead. In her eyes, Cam is bitter because Jim grew up, started making his own decisions, and chose to put love first. And honestly, that explanation is starting to resonate with a lot of fans. For years, Dipset loyalists have debated why the group never reached the heights it could have. Was it Cam's ego? Was it Jim's stubbornness? Or was it the influence of outside forces? Now with this tape resurfacing old wounds, people are realizing that maybe the tension was never just about business. Maybe it was always personal. But let's be clear. Camron isn't the type to sit back and let someone take shots at him without firing back. Within a day of Chrissy's Instagram posts, Cam jumped on Instagram Live, sipping his signature pink drink and smirking into the camera. Without mentioning Chrissy's name directly, he dropped lines that left no doubt about who he was talking about. Some people mad 'cause the truth hurt. But guess what? I ain't never lied. If you ain't got nothing to hide, why you so pressed? That clip spread like wildfire. Fans were eating it up, posting comments like, "Cam petty, but he's not lying," and "Chrissy better watch out." He got more tapes. Suddenly, the feud wasn't just about a leaked tape. It was a full-on back-and-forth war between Chrissy and Cam, played out in front of millions of spectators. Meanwhile, Jim Jones found himself in the worst possible position. stuck in the middle of a battle between the woman he loves and the man he once called his brother. Insiders say Jim has been trying to keep the peace, but the pressure is mounting. Fans are demanding he take a stand. Does he ride for Chrissy and defend her against Cam's accusations? Or does he stay loyal to Camron, the man who helped him build his entire career? Either way, Jim is risking everything. His relationship, his friendships, and his public image. His friendships and his public image. So far, Jim's only public response has been subtle. He posted a photo of himself looking serious with the caption, "Real ones know what's up." No names, no context, but fans immediately began dissecting it. Some took it as a show of support for Chrissy, while others said it was Jim trying to remind people that Cam wasn't telling the full story. But silence only fuels speculation, and with Cam and Chrissy throwing shots back and forth. Jim's refusal to speak directly is making the drama even bigger, and the blogs. Oh, they're having the time of their lives. One gossip site claimed to have exclusive sources saying, Chrissy is preparing a sit-down interview to tell her side of the story. Another site hinted that Cam might release even more footage, not just words, but actual videos showing behind-the-scenes drama from Dipset's heyday. If that's true, things could get ugly very quickly. Because those receipts might not just target Chrissy, but Jim as well. The fan reactions are split right down the middle. On Twitter, hashtag Team Chrissy started trending with fans praising her for being strong, outspoken, and unwilling to let Cam disrespect her. On the other side, hashtag Team Cam had people saying Cam is just telling the truth that everyone else has been too scared to say. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. This ain't even about love or loyalty anymore. This is about ego and power. Cam wants the last word, and Chrissy won't let him have it. And let's not forget, Chrissy has her own reputation for explosive confrontations. Anyone who's watched Love and Hip Hop knows she's not afraid to put her hands on someone or go off in front of the cameras. People are already speculating about what might happen if Chrissy and Camron cross paths in person. Imagine that scene, Chrissy confronting Cam at an event. Cameras flashing, tension sky high. It would be the kind of moment that breaks the internet instantly. But while fans are entertained, those close to Jim and Chrissy say the situation is tearing them apart behind closed doors. Arguments are happening daily, with Chrissy demanding Jim stand up for her more publicly, and Jim trying to avoid adding fuel to the fire. One insider even claimed that Chrissy gave Jim an ultimatum. Either he shuts Cam down once and for all, or she's walking away. If that's true, Jim's silence might not just cost him his friendship with Cam, could cost him his relationship to Dot. And as if this situation wasn't messy enough, rumors are now circulating that other members of Dipset might start chiming in. People are wondering if Joel Santana or Freaky Zeke will take sides. Will they back up Cam's claims, or will they defend Jim and Chrissy? Because if more voices get added to this fire, the drama could spiral completely out of control. The truth is, this leaked tape didn't just expose Chrissy and Jim, it reopened old wounds for everyone who was part of Dipset's rise and fall. Camron's revelation was like ripping the lid off a pot that had been simmering for over a decade. And Chrissy's explosive reaction only proves that the wounds are still fresh, still raw, and still capable of causing chaos at this point. The question isn't whether the feud will continue, it's how far it will go. Will Chrissy follow through with her promise to expose Cam? Will Cam really drop more tapes that could destroy Chrissy and Jim's relationship? And will Jim finally step out of the shadows and declare whose side he's on? Because the way things are looking right now, this isn't just about a leaked tape anymore. This is about a family torn apart, a crew divided, and two powerful personalities, Chrissy and Cam, locked in a war where neither one is willing to back down. By the time the dust settled from Camron and Chrissy Lampkin's initial back and forth, the fallout had already begun to ripple far beyond their own circle. This wasn't just about a leaked tape anymore. It had turned into a full-blown cultural conversation, pulling in fans, blogs, and even old Dipset affiliates who couldn't resist weighing in. And the deeper this story went, the more it looked like nobody was coming out of it unscathed. The first sign of real damage came in the form of public appearances. Chrissy and Jim Jones, who were once inseparable at red carpets and events, suddenly weren't being seen together as much. Paparazzi started speculating about a breakup, snapping photos of Jim walking solo in Harlem and Chrissy shopping alone. Gossip blogs ran with the narrative, claiming that Jim was tired of being forced to choose sides, and that Chrissy's fiery reaction to Cam's tape had pushed him over the edge. But Chrissy wasn't about to let rumors control her story. She went live on Instagram one night, pacing around her living room as thousands of fans tuned in, with her voice shaking but her energy fiery. She told viewers, "I don't care what anybody says. I'm not scared of Cam or nobody else. If you think you can play with me and my relationship, you've got another thing coming." The live show had fans split. Some cheered her on for standing strong, while others said she looked like she was unraveling under the pressure. Meanwhile, Camron only added fuel to the fire. He hinted that the final tape wasn't actually final at all, teasing in an interview that he had more stories in the vault about the old Dipset days. He smirked as he told the host, "Let's just say people got selective memories. They remember the good times, but they forget the dirt. I ain't forgot nothing." That comment alone sent the internet into chaos, with people wondering if Cam was about to drop more bombshells that could destroy Jim and Chrissy once and for all. The situation escalated even further when other voices began jumping in. Joel Santana, who had mostly stayed quiet, suddenly liked one of Cam's shady posts, and that small gesture was enough to send fans into a frenzy. People started speculating that Joel's was siding with Cam, and that the old Dipset bonds might be rekindled, but at the expense of Jim Jones. Freaky Zeke, on the other hand, appeared on a podcast and made it clear he wasn't choosing sides, saying, "At the end of the day, I love both them dudes, but this whole thing is messy. That tape never should have seen the light of day." But here's the problem. Once something like this gets out, you can't put it back in the box. The leaked tape was circulating everywhere, dissected on YouTube channels, analyzed in Twitter threads, and even making its way into memes that had fans laughing at Jim and Chrissy's expense. Every time Chrissy tried to move on, another clip or rumor resurfaced, keeping the scandal alive. And the strain on Jim and Chrissy's relationship was becoming impossible to ignore. Insiders claimed that Jim was spending more time at the studio, avoiding the tense atmosphere at home. Some even whispered that he was leaning on old friends, trying to find guidance about how to navigate the war between his fiancée and his former brother-in-arms. Chrissy, meanwhile, was reportedly furious that Jim wasn't being vocal enough in defending her, interpreting his silence as betrayal, in one particularly dramatic twist. A blog reported that Chrissy confronted Jim directly with an ultimatum. Either he denounces Cam publicly, or she walks. If true, that demand put Jim in an impossible position. Choosing Chrissy would mean burning a bridge with Cam that could never be rebuilt. Choosing Cam would mean losing the woman who had stood by him for decades. And trying to stay neutral, that was already proving impossible, because silence in a storm this loud just looked like weakness. Fans couldn't stop debating what Jim should do. One viral post read, "Jim Jones is too quiet. Either ride for your woman or ride for your bro, but you can't play both sides forever." Another user tweeted, "Chrissy deserves better. If my man let Cam disrespect me like that, I'd be gone already." On the flip side, Cam supporters argued that Jim was wise to stay silent, because responding only feeds the fire. But in the court of public opinion, silence often speaks louder than words. By now, the final tape had become a cultural phenomenon. Podcasts, radio shows, and even mainstream outlets were covering it, framing it as the latest chapter in hip-hop's long history of loyalty and betrayal. People were drawing comparisons to other famous feuds, like Jay-Z versus Dame Dash, pointing out how personal relationships and business entanglements often explode in the public eye. The difference here? The women were front and center, with Chrissy refusing to fade into the background. And that's what made this saga so compelling. Chrissy wasn't just reacting, she was fighting back, showing the world she wasn't afraid to challenge Camron head-on. But the more she fought, the more Cam seemed to enjoy provoking her. It was like a chess game played out in the open, each move designed to humiliate the other. And Jim was the piece stuck in the middle, forced to watch as the two strongest personalities in his life went to war as the weeks dragged on. Whispers started to grow louder about a possible face-to-face confrontation. Would Chrissy and Cam end up in the same room? Would it happen at a music event, a reality show reunion, or even just on the streets of Harlem? Fans were on edge, waiting for the inevitable explosion. Because one thing was clear, this feud wasn't dying down anytime soon. Behind the scenes, industry insiders were also worried. Some claimed that the drama was starting to affect Jim's business deals, with brands hesitant to associate with someone caught up in such a messy scandal. Others suggested that Cam was leveraging the chaos to stay relevant, positioning himself as the one with all the receipts and stories that fans craved. Either way, the stakes were getting higher, and the potential consequences were more than just personal. They were professional too by the end of it all. One thing was undeniable. The leaked final tape had changed everything. It had reignited old Dipset wounds, pushed Chrissy and Jim's relationship to the brink, and reminded everyone just how deep the fractures in hip-hop loyalty can go. Chrissy's explosive reaction wasn't just about defending herself. It was about proving that she wouldn't be silenced. Not by Cam, not by the industry, not by anyone. And as for Camron, he thrived in the chaos, smiling through every clapback, every rumor, every headline. Because for Cam, the power was in the narrative, and as long as he controlled the story, he knew he would always have the last word. But the real question remains, will Jim finally choose a side? Or will his silence be the very thing that costs him everything he's built? Because when the dust settles, there's one truth we can't ignore, leaked or not. Some tapes have the power to destroy families, friendships, and entire legacies. And this might just be one of them. And now it's your turn to step into this firestorm. We've heard Camron drop his shocking revelation, seen Chrissy Lampkin's explosive reaction, and we've watched Jim Jones caught in the crossfire of loyalty and love. But the question is, where do you stand in this war? Do you believe Cam is just speaking the truth that's been hidden for years? Or is he out of line for dragging Chrissy into the spotlight with a so-called final tape? Should Jim break his silence and defend Chrissy publicly? Or is staying quiet the only way to protect what's left of Dipset's legacy? I want to hear from you. Are you riding with hashtag Team Chrissy? Standing strong beside a woman who refuses to be disrespected? Or are you rolling with hashtag Team Cam, believing that receipts and revelations can't be ignored no matter how messy they are? And what about Jim? Is it time for him to finally choose? Or is silence his smartest move? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, and don't forget to like this video. Subscribe for more breaking updates and hit that notification bell. Because trust me, this drama is far from over.